Hello Friends story begins, and we are shown a man named Seth who has just woken up from sleep. He has neither friends nor any family in his life. All his time is spent at the city's animal control center, where he takes care of dogs. As soon as he finishes feeding everyone, he goes into the cage of a dog named Lexi and hugs her, seeking a little comfort. One day while returning home, Seth sees Holly on the bus. He starts talking to her, but Holly doesn't recognize him at all. Seth reminds her that they both studied in the same high school, though they were never friends. Seth, who was 1 year senior to Holly, knew her from school days because Holly was counted among the popular girls. Seth notices that Holly is writing something in her diary. He says that maybe Holly is a writer, but Holly tells him that actually, she works as a waitress and writing is just her hobby. That same night, Seth starts searching for Holly on social media. He feels happy when he finds out that Holly has a pet dog. The next day, he asks his colleague Nate how to impress a girl. Nate advises him that he should be confident and try to make her laugh. But Seth's mood breaks when he finds out that Lexi will soon be put to death. He takes her out of the cage, lays her down on the table, and keeps talking to her lovingly while stroking her. The doctor suggests that if Seth wants, he can adopt Lexi and save her life. But Seth says that his flat doesn't allow pets and he cannot afford a better house. Lexi is given an injection and put to sleep, and Seth has to take her body to the crematory. As he begins removing Lexi's name from her cage, he hears some noise coming from the restricted section of the animal center. He opens the door and peeks inside, but nothing special is seen. That night, Seth once again searches Holly's profiles on social media and starts noting small details about her life. He carefully looks at each of her pictures, and in this way, he finds out which restaurant Holly works at. The next day he goes to the same diner. He has to introduce himself again because Holly doesn't recognize him. He compliments her, but Holly stays completely professional and shows no interest in conversation. Seth asks her once again to go on a date, but Holly says that she has a boyfriend. Seth immediately replies that he knows she doesn't have a boyfriend, which scares Holly. She puts the bill on the table and walks away. That same night, when Holly is returning home, she feels like someone is following her. In reality, Seth is hiding in the bushes outside her house. Holly tells her roommate Claire that someone is outside, but Claire thinks it's just her imagination. Meanwhile, Holly gets a call from her ex-boyfriend Eric, who is drunk. After cutting the call, Claire tells her that maybe she should forgive Eric because loneliness is a bad thing. But Holly clearly refuses and starts drinking wine. The next morning, Holly reaches the diner where she finds a big bouquet of flowers. On the card it only says "Be mine." After work, Holly goes to Eric's bar and tells him to stop sending her gifts. Eric says that he didn't send those flowers. He tries to convince Holly to get back with him, but Holly reminds him that he had cheated. A little later, Seth also arrives at the bar and watches them from a distance. When Holly goes outside to smoke and is writing in her diary, Seth approaches her again. Holly still doesn't recognize him and says that she is leaving. At that moment, Seth tells her that he was the one who sent the flowers, and Holly is shocked as she finally recognizes him. She realizes that Seth was stalking her. Seth explains to her that he is not some psycho. He just wants to talk to her. She pushes him, and she goes back inside the bar, where Eric sees that Seth has been following her. Holly tells Eric that Seth tried to grab her. Eric jumps over the counter and directly attacks Seth, punching him. Seth falls to the floor, covered in blood. But he keeps laughing. Eric kicks him, and Holly has to intervene. Eric drags Seth out and tells him never to come here again. Returning home, Seth first applies medicine to his wounds and then starts reading the notebook. It turns out that this is Holly's personal diary in which she keeps writing all her frustrations and emotions. The next day at work, Seth goes to that area of the animal shelter where no one goes. There he finds a hidden door on the floor. He goes down and discovers an old room that is still connected to electricity. Seeing this place gives birth to a terrifying plan in his mind. Then for many days Seth works on that plan. He orders supplies from the internet and learns from online videos how to build a cage. He slowly starts transforming that old room into a confinement cell. Meanwhile, he also keeps reading Holly's diary and steals sleeping medicines from the animal shelter. One night at home, he tests that medicine on himself and immediately falls into a deep sleep without any bad effects. A few days later, Holly is returning to her apartment at night. She feels as if someone is following her. She stops and looks around. But Seth is hiding at that moment. When Holly starts walking again, she feels the same footsteps behind her. Scared, she takes out pepper spray from her purse and sprays it on someone. But by mistake, she sprays it on a homeless man. The man starts screaming, and Holly runs away from there. From a distance, Seth keeps watching everything. A little while later, Seth climbs a wall and enters Holly's house through the window. At that time, Holly is in the bathroom and taking medicines. Suddenly, she hears some sound. She immediately runs outside but finds only the open window. She closes the window and returns to her room. As soon as she lies down on the bed, Seth jumps on her and injects a needle into her neck, making her unconscious. Holly struggles for a few seconds, but then as soon as the medicine takes effect, she becomes senseless. Then Seth hides Holly in a big box and takes her to the shelter. There, his colleague Nate stops him and asks what he is doing so late at night. Seth makes an excuse that the boss suddenly assigned him a delivery. Nate believes him and just makes him sign a form. Inside the box, Holly slowly starts regaining consciousness. She makes faint sounds. To cover it up, Seth coughs loudly, but still Holly's voice comes again, and this time Nate hears it. But Nate thinks it must be the sound of the air conditioner. Seth leaves from there. Holly now fully comes to her senses and finds herself in a dark room inside an iron cage. Panic-stricken, she tries to break the cage bars. But she puts in so much force that her nail gets torn off. She holds the bars of the cage and screams for help. But her voice only reaches the dogs in the shelter, who start barking loudly. Nate dismisses it, thinking the dogs are barking for no reason. As soon as morning comes, Seth enters the room again. In his hand is a pot so Holly can urinate in it. He tries to talk to her very gently, but Holly abuses him. Then Seth says that she has lost the right to food and now she won't get any food. He says they will talk again tomorrow. Then he says that they will try again tomorrow. That same night Holly starts hallucinating. She feels that Claire is in the same room with her and is repeating every bad act of Seth in front of her. Holly tells her to be quiet and starts screaming. Then, forced to urinate, she has to use the same pot, but she gets shocked when a rat enters her cage. Scared, Holly strikes the rat, keeps hitting it until it dies. The next day Seth comes into the room and has to clean the bloodstains of that rat. Holly asks him if he will sexually abuse her. Seth says no. But when Holly asks, "Will you kill me?" Seth replies, "Hopefully not." Seth says that if he fails to change and save her, then he will have no other option left. Holly feels like this is some religious cult. But Seth says that he is not doing all this for himself but for Holly, because he considers her special. He tells her that he felt loneliness and a sense of being lost until he met Holly. He felt that Holly was the only person who truly saw him. He warns him that he should not come into that section. Nate hands him a cleaning job and himself goes to check that door. But the door is found locked. That night Holly again sees Claire, and Claire asks what she is going to do now. Holly replies, "I will wait." The next day Seth comes to Holly and shows her that he has her diary. He says that he feels pity for Holly, especially because she writes in her notes about deep despair and the longing for love. But Holly says that a crazy stalker can never understand the meaning of love. Then Seth asks if Claire is in that room. He tells that he has heard Holly talking to Claire and making two different voices. Holly says that Claire is not there. But still, she can see Claire standing behind Seth. She says that she knows Claire is not really there, but Seth is not only talking about this room. Reading Holly's diary again and again, Seth slowly realizes that Holly often hallucinated Claire even at home. From the hidden pages in the diary, the truth slowly gets revealed. Claire was not imaginary. Actually, she lived with Holly. When Holly was about to be engaged to a boy named Eric, a secret relationship began between Claire and Eric. Holly came to know about this affair when she secretly read Eric's emails. One day Claire and Holly were traveling together in a car. Claire tried to apologize. She kept saying that her affair didn't mean anything, but Holly's anger got out of control. She started driving fast, and while rushing the car she screamed like crazy that Claire had ruined her life. For a long time she kept dodging traffic. But finally, the car went out of her control and a terrible accident happened. When Holly regained consciousness, a piece of glass was stuck in her stomach. Nearby, Claire was lying covered in blood. Hearing Claire's voice made Holly angry. She pulled the piece of glass out from her stomach and thrust it straight into Claire's eye. Later the police considered it merely an accident and did not suspect Claire's death. In the present, Holly tells Seth that she is a fiction writer. Seth thinks this is why she wanted to make everything certain before going to the police. Seth tells her that he had been following her for many days and he found out that after Claire's death, Holly often started attacking strangers. Some she even killed. It was Holly who had poured petrol on a homeless man and burned him alive. Seth believes that Holly writes all this in her diary so that someone will catch her and punish her for Claire's death. But Seth says that he will. Not to punish her but to save her. Holly admits that somewhere deep down she does want someone to stop her before she hurts more people. Claire's hallucination claps and praises Holly's performance, and Holly admits that she was lying, only to make Seth believe that he had some way to save her. Some time later, when Seth again comes to meet Holly locked in the cage, he brings her water and a wet cloth so she can clean her face. But Seth cannot stop his eyes from staring at her skin. They talk about the murders Holly committed. Holly says that she enjoys killing people. But Seth doesn't believe it. He thinks it's all the effect of guilt and trauma. Then Holly tells a story. How a shark keeps hitting its head on the aquarium glass until it injures itself. She even starts imitating it, banging her head on the wall. Seth tries to stop her. But Holly keeps teasing him, saying that if she kills herself everyone will think that Seth killed her. Hearing this, Seth gets scared and leaves. Meanwhile, Seth's boss calls him into the office and scolds him for not doing his work properly. She says she's not firing him yet, but she is putting a disciplinary warning on his record. One more mistake and he will be fired from the job. Next time when Seth comes back to Holly, he gives her 2 chocolate bars. He says that she must learn that she is not in control. If Holly doesn't behave properly, she won't get food anymore. Holly tries to convince him by telling him a dream, where the two of them are together on the beach, happy and free. Seth melts and agrees to bring more food. As Seth goes out to get the food, Nate sees him. He gets suspicious, so he tries the door and for the first time finds it unlocked. He goes down through the hatch and reaches the room, and is shocked when he sees Holly locked in the cage. Holly begs Nate for help. Nate starts hitting the lock with a hammer to break it. Just then Seth returns. Holly signals Nate to stay quiet. Then she distracts him by talking, and in the meantime Seth silently comes behind Nate and strikes his head. But Nate was not weak. He pushes Seth against the wall. But Seth pulls out a knife and attacks him. Nate gets stabbed multiple times. Even then Nate tries to escape. But Holly stretches her leg and trips him. After that, Holly starts sweet-talking Seth so that he will agree to kill Nate. Finally, Seth smashes a cement block on Nate's head. Holly watches all this with great enjoyment. After the murder, Seth's mental balance starts shaking. Holly consoles him and tells him the plan to dispose of the body. Seth uses the doctor's tools to remove all of Nate's teeth. Not to punish but to save. After showering, Seth calls his boss, making up a story that Nate went out for work and didn't return. Later, Seth throws Nate's teeth into the river. Back at the shelter he spends hours cleaning the blood, while Holly keeps mumbling non-stop. She says she sees a dark side in Seth that attracts her to him. She rubs his hand on her face and even tries to force it on her body. Seth panics and pulls back. When Seth returns to the office area, he sees a detective searching Nate's things. The detective asks when Seth last saw Nate. Seth tries to answer, but his story is full of inconsistencies. The detective gets suspicious. Why is Seth already talking about Nate in the past tense, as if Nate is dead? He brings food to Holly, but now Holly seems lifeless, neither moving nor speaking. Days go by with Holly refusing and then negotiating. Finally, after long emotional talks, Seth convinces Holly to speak again. This time Holly demands proof. She says if Seth truly loves her, he must give her one of his fingers. At first, Seth is terrified and refuses. But Holly cunningly gives another long emotional speech. How she always felt different and cut off from the world since childhood, as if no one understood her. Only Seth could understand her feelings. Hearing this, Seth feels uneasy and retreats to the bathroom, sitting there in panic, questioning himself. After a long time, gathering courage, Seth returns to Holly's cage. He does the horrific act Holly demanded. He feels excruciating pain but says nothing. Holly pretends she is about to lovingly hold his severed finger, but suddenly she grabs the knife instead. Madness gleams in her eyes. She screams that if Seth doesn't free her, she'll kill herself. In panic, Seth quickly unlocks the cage. Holly stumbles out on shaky legs. For a moment, it seems she is about to hug him. She says she loves him and kisses him, but the very next second, Holly slashes Seth's throat with the knife. Claire's hallucination, as always hovering around Holly, slowly points toward the open door, signaling that Holly now has a way out. Some time later, Holly is shown again dating Eric. She even lands a big contract to publish her diary contents as a fiction novel. One day, Eric's phone rings, and Holly sees on the screen that Eric is again talking to another woman. Shockingly, this time Holly's face remains completely calm. Without saying a word, she hands the phone back to Eric. After this, Holly goes to a deserted warehouse. In a dark corner, Seth is now locked in a large cage. Slowly, it's revealed. Whenever Holly feels the dangerous urge to kill, instead of hurting others outside, she takes out her violence on Seth. In a way, Seth really did stop her from killing people. Technically, he truly saved her.